Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Kicked out of his home.
I'm living in a tent next to where my best friend shot himself.
What happened?
This kid's been on 50 different medications. This is obscene.
That made him so volatile.
Did your mother say you were a waste of a perfectly good kid?
Never. You're still lying. You keep on lying.
I'll throw myself on the sword. I said it. Then.
Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Okay, now I want you to imagine getting kicked out of your mom and dad's house and feeling like you have nowhere to go but out into the wilderness. Now, 22-year-old Tommy says his mother is always picking fights with him and his stepdad calls him a nutcase, so that's why he's now living in a tent. But his mother claims Tommy is manipulative, unstable, and plagued by demons. She says he has broken his hand punching things, and even claims to have been assaulted multiple times, once by 5 Native Americans. Now, Tommy's biological father feels his son is disturbed, and despite never really seeing eye to eye with his ex-wife, Margaret, he is willing to sit down with her for the first time since their divorce, now, today, to try and help Tommy. They are scared. Take a look.
My son Tommy is angry, volatile, and confrontational.
Tommy is really unhappy and disturbed on the inside. Tommy was never a normal kid. He was a little quirky and a little off.
Tommy loved dressing up in costumes.
Tommy started to wear hats. By the time he reached kindergarten, he was wearing a 3-piece suit to school every day. Tommy had no friends as a kid. We tried to set up play dates, but he really wasn't into it.
When I divorced his father, Tommy was in 3rd grade. That's when things started to change. By 7th grade, Tommy started to spin out of control. Tommy threatened to blow up another kid's house. He was removed from the general student population.
Tommy has always had anger issues. In grammar school, he punched the playground as hard as he could and broke his hand. He's punched the wall in my house, and he broke his hand again. Tommy's always been aggressive, but he's becoming frightening for what he might do to himself or to other people. For a time, he was stealing from me. Tommy took silver jewelry out of my cabinet.
Things were definitely starting to get out of control. When we moved to Las Vegas, Tommy lived with me and my husband Dave for 3 years. Tommy would call us morons, stupid idiots. It became unbearable. Now Tommy is banned from my house because my husband refuses to let him live there. He moved back in with his dad again.
Tommy would call me an ass, a drunk, a loser.
It was a big blow, and his dad threw him out. Tommy thought it was a good idea to buy a tent and live in the desert.
I don't want to abandon him. I could have cut the cord when he was 18, but morally, I have to see him through this.
Well, now, Tommy's parents say that he can't keep a job, yet he seems to always have money. That's because his parents say he's manipulating them out of their life savings. Take a look.
When Tommy needs money, he's very manipulative.
I used to have money in a savings account. All us guys have a little cash on the side that our wives don't know about. Because of Tommy, it's all gone now. I live paycheck to paycheck.
Tommy was taking a bus, and I get a call saying that he had been assaulted and taken to the hospital. He sent me pictures and needed money desperately. I've been an enabler to Tommy my entire life.
Just last month, I sent him $700 because of something that happened to him on a bus ride. Tommy pits Margaret and I against each other. He does this to gain a financial advantage.
I've given my son $50,000 over the last 5 years.
Over the past year, I've given Tommy $800 a month, and he just spends it like it's water. I wouldn't be surprised if he's getting the same amount of money from Margaret. That's just the way Tommy is.
I've invested a lot of money in Tommy, and I haven't seen any progress, any change, or any improvement.
Okay, now I wanted to talk to the two of you first. Tommy's not listening right now. The two of you don't communicate a lot, correct?
Correct.
How long has it been?
We haven't really had a long conversation since he got out of high school.
So what do you think's going on with your son?
He has psychological issues, that he has demons that I don't know how to deal with.
Okay, psychological issues and demons. And I know you're using that as a general term. You're saying, I don't know what's going on in him. It's something that's driving him. What do you think?
Part of it's manipulative. He wants us to think he's a loose cannon. Don't mess with me because I might go off any minute.
So you don't think that he is necessarily mentally ill?
Oh, I do. I think he's mentally ill, but I think he uses that as a device.
It's interesting to me, if you both agree that he's mentally ill, that you approach him in a punitive way. If he had a brain tumor, would you approach that in a punitive way?
No, of course not.
Well, how is that different if he has a mental illness?
It's significantly different.
Tell me how.
If things don't go the way he expects them to or wants them to, then he just flies apart and makes threats.
And you don't
gets
think
violent.
that that's due to the mental illness?
Yes, it is. Yeah, he has no control.
So why would you approach that punitively if he has no control?
It's my mistake. I feel as though I should have more patience and more compassion for him, but
So I've changed your mind about that?
yeah, pretty much.
I really feel that I don't approach him in a punitive way.
I have to tell you that enabling someone, not requiring someone to do as much as they can do, can be as debilitating as being punitive with them. I mean, I don't care if someone is a chronic schizophrenic. Failing to require that chronic schizophrenic to do as much as that person can do is as debilitating as being punitive with them.
I understand.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Margaret says Tommy manipulates her not just to get money, but pretty much to get anything he wants. She says Tommy even warned her about what to say on the show today. Let's take a look at this.
Tommy called me last night threatening me about coming on the show, what I should say, what I shouldn't say, telling me that he was going to throw me under the bus, saying whatever he could to hurt me. He said that if I didn't follow his directions, that he would leave and I would never see him again. He would make sure my life was ruined. This behavior is totally Tommy. It's manipulative, it's meant to scare people, it's disconcerting and hurtful. I will do anything it takes to get him help, no matter what the risk is to me, so that we all can have a better quality of life. I know he is capable of so much more than this.
So what do you think he's afraid of?
Something that makes him look bad. But there's nothing I can say that we all don't already know and we even agree on. I'm at my wit's end. He threatens people because he's angry. I mean, like he has threatened to when he's very angry with his brother. He's threatened to download porn on his computer and report him to his employer so he could have him fired. He just lashes out at people.
This has been a problem since he was 2, 3, 4 years old.
Yeah,
you started seeing,
absolutely.
You started seeing idiosyncratic behavior early on.
Without a doubt.
So this is a chronic problem. We're talking about 15, 16 years.
Yes.
Well, here's the question I have for the two of you, and that I'll have for David when we add him to the conversation later. Are you willing to take a hard look at your role in Tommy's pathology?
Yes.
Because you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Absolutely.
And you've been part of the problem.
Agreed.
You know that. You've
Yes,
been part
sure.
of the problem.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now, Tommy says he has never had the chance to sit down with both of his parents in 15 years and talk about his issues. Well, we're going to meet Tommy next, and we're going to do just that. And boy, do I have a lot to say in the hour I'm allotted. We'll be right back.
Ask ex-husband Tom is very self-centered and passive. I find myself always having to push him to do anything that needs to be done for Tommy. He is never proactive enough. Whenever I ask my ex-husband to help with Tommy, he always acts as if it's a burden or an inconvenience, and that really frustrates me.
Well, Margaret and Tom admit they have not been the best at co-parenting. They got divorced when Tommy was 5, and Tom says that Margaret was abusive and demanding, and Margaret says Tom was self-centered and lazy. They got a divorce. Tommy says he remembers all the fighting and blames his parents for his emotional issues. Take a look.
When I was younger, my mom and dad would fight constantly. If they weren't fighting, they weren't in the same room. My mother and father divorced because my mom's constant drinking. She was also cheating on him with her now husband. I remember my father sitting down with my brother and I and telling us, we're not gonna be together anymore, we're gonna live in separate houses. My father is verbally abusive. My father doesn't stand up for me except for behind closed doors. My mother and I have a very strenuous relationship. It's very toxic, codependent. My mother once told me that what a waste of a perfectly good kid. That affected me a lot. My mother, my father, and I haven't been in the same room for about 10 years now. This past year for me has been hell. My best friend shot himself, and I found him right here. The image never leaves your head. 2 weeks after that, the night we had the funeral party for my best friend, my other 2 best friends were killed in a traffic accident on the way home from that party. And they came flying down here. Those reflectors weren't there at the time, and they just went off and crashed. As long as I was constantly intoxicated, I never had to deal with anything. I was destroyed by the demon inside that bottle. I was destroyed by being abandoned by my parents. That was the beginning of the worst part of my life this last year that's just killed me. It's the downward spiral that started it all. Those 2 days, they're engraved in your mind.
Well, Tommy, it's good to meet you. I'm glad you're here.
It's a pleasure to meet you too. I'm glad I'm here as well.
Yeah, tell me why.
I'm here because I feel like you two need to step it up, okay? I can't do this alone. I've been through a lot of stuff, and I've had my faults, and I'll admit them right now and tell you everything I've done wrong. But you know what? You guys need to do the same thing, because I can't do this anymore. I'm living in a tent next to where my best friend shot himself, and you guys are just kumbaya, all happy and go lucky. You're drunk all the time and don't even remember what you're saying to me. Half the time you don't even care, or you do care a lot when it's just me and you, but when anyone else comes, you're gone. You just shoved medication down my throat since day one. I was born to fail in my eyes. The reason I was born, you told me, is wrong. You don't say I was born for your little brother, your older brother, to have someone to play with because you want a sibling. And you know what? I feel like you've lied so many times, you believe your own lies. And you know what? I'm sorry, Dad, but you need to stand up for yourself and stand up for me. And you need to help me, both of you, because I can't do this on my own.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You are living in a tent some now, right?
Yes.
I assume you don't have a TV in that tent, so you probably don't watch Dr. Phil a lot.
No, I have my cell phone, and I've caught up on the show since I've seen a couple episodes. I've watched a lot of clips.
Okay. Just lately?
Just recently, yes.
Okay, so you're not like a lifelong
No.
fan and viewer?
No.
Oh, hell, that's what's wrong with you. Let me tell you why I'm asking. And I need to preface this with a cautionary statement, because it's going to sound like I'm on your side 100%. And it's going to sound that way because that's true. They are, as well, the best they know how. And it's going to sound like I'm making a lot of excuses for you. And I'm not. But what I'm going to do is I want you and your parents to have a clear understanding of how I think we got where we are.
I'm a product of my environment.
I believe that children are basically born blank slates. And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I am going to look at what has been written on the slate of this young man in the last 22 years. And I think a big, bright light is going to turn on over everyone's head. All three of you. We'll be right back.
Tommy has never developed the skill to tolerate social conflict. If you don't agree with him and the way that he thinks, he wants to punish you for it. He blows up and attacks you.
Now, I said I wanted to take a look at what's been written on the slate of this young man. One thing is, since this young man has been 5 years old, I counted up that he has been on at least 50 different medications. That is absolutely obscene. And let me tell you something. The evidence is very clear. This isn't a close call. When you put a young child on polypharmacy for even a short period of time, let alone across years, it changes their brain to the point that you dysregulate their ability to inhibit anger. Then you come along, and how old were you when the divorce happened, Tommy?
I was in about 3rd grade.
That changes a child. But he's not alone. He does have a brother. Did you tell him that the reason you had him was so his brother would have somebody to play with?
No.
Why are you lying? How can I get better?
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to you.
No, never told him that. No.
Did both of you say that we actually have to admit we did favor his brother?
I did not favor his brother. I feel like his dad did. I favored
You
Tommy.
admitted that you favored his brother.
I did. I admitted that I spent more time with him.
His brother was a baseball player.
I was the coach
and his
of the
little
team.
brother dressed up in weird costumes and outfits and
Right.
wore suits in kindergarten and 1st grade. He was a weird kid that did weird things, and his brother played baseball, and you were into baseball, and you favored him with time and attention and energy. True or false?
Correct.
This brother is the favorite, and that he, Tommy, is pretty much regarded as the strange kid.
And Mom, how can you say you favored me when you supported me being in suits at school? You knew I was going to be ridiculed. I used to come home crying, say I have no friends. People make fun of me. As a mother, how could you just be okay with that?
Did your mother, when she was drunk, tell you that you were a waste of a perfectly good kid?
Yeah.
Never.
When I first went into treatment for heroin, you were drunk, and you said that.
Never.
You're still lying. You keep on lying. How can I get better if you believe your own lies?
Did you
the
tell him that
problem.
you wish you had had an abortion?
Never.
Again, when you're drunk, you get blacked out drunk and forget what you
Do you have
say.
a drinking problem?
No. I have a couple glasses of wine at night when I get home.
Sorry.
So he is completely fabricating this.
Yes.
It's and
I've
listen,
never told him I wish I'd had an abortion. I never told him any
You were
of those
blacked
kinds
out
of
drunk.
things.
How do you know what you say?
never said you're a waste of a perfectly good kid. Now listen,
No.
hang on. If he is totally manufacturing this, if this is delusional, this is important in what direction I move him and what I don't. And if you send me down the wrong road, you are cheating him to cover your own ass.
I have never said those things.
So he's making this up.
I think that Tommy, with some of his past issues, may not have total recall. But you know what? Fine. I'll throw myself on the sword. I said it.
Oh, wait a
then.
minute. That's if you say you said it when you didn't, then that sends me down the wrong road too. I need facts.
I don't. I can never imagine myself ever saying that, drunk, sober, or anything else.
Then don't tell me you did. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear, because you don't know what I want to hear. What I want to hear is what is.
I would never say that.
And you're literally sitting here telling me you're not an alcoholic, you don't have a drinking problem. That is the biggest lie I have heard in a very, very long time. I can't even believe you have the audacity to sit on this stage that I poured my heart out. And you know what? You're sitting here me and you're pointing me out to be the liar. When you know what? I have lied. And you know what? I'll admit the things I've lied about. And I will do that. And I have done that. And I will continue to do that from this day forward as long as you will do the same and you will do the same. I need to change, but you guys need to change with me so we can come together.
Writing on the slate of who he is, we also know that in a period of a very short period of time, 3 key people in his life are violently killed. One of them you were very close to, and he shot himself in the head. You found the body.
Tried to resuscitate him.
You tried to resuscitate him despite the fact that he had shot himself in the head. Shortly thereafter, 2 friends drove off of a country road that made a 90-degree turn and went over the cliff and killed themselves.
Accidentally, yeah.
Accidentally.
Yeah, and those were the only 3 real friends I actually had in the world.
Tommy recently wanted to go live in a tent in the scorching desert to reflect on his life. He says it didn't work out the way he wanted it to. Take a look.
Since I was kicked out of my father's house, I would sit out in the desert where my friend had committed suicide and pitch his tent and sleep right next to where his body was and sweat profusely. It almost felt like I was hallucinating. That's called Black Mountain. It was his favorite view. This is where my friend died, and this is where everything started to go wrong in my life. You get up to about 120 degrees. I come out here just to sleep, you know, a couple days a week. I heard about these Sedona sweat lodges where you can go and kind of hallucinate and find your inner demons. I kept on pitching up my tent at the exact spot because I thought it would bring me some inner peace. In a lot of ways, it just kind of made me more frustrated.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Tommy says the earliest memory of his stepdad is being swung around like a rag doll. We're going to add him to the conversation when we come back.
My mother's husband, David, is probably the cruelest man I've ever met in my life. There's never been a moment where he's actually been warm.
My stepson is a total nutcase.
The earliest memory I have of David is him making out with my mother when my parents were still married. And I spit on him and I said, "No, that's my daddy's wife." And he picked me up and he thrashed me around like a rag doll. My mom stood there and let it happen. In 4th grade, David said, "The suits you wear make you look like a start dressing normally." He's a coward, abusive, and verbally degrading. I can't even be in the same room.
Margaret says David wants her to cut ties with her youngest son, but she says she just can't do it, even if it cost her her marriage. Take a look.
The fighting that goes on between Tommy with my husband Dave has really created a crisis point in our marriage. Dave is very impatient and doesn't take the time to understand the psychological issues with Tommy.
This kid has cussed me out, called me an idiot.
Dave makes me choose between him and my son. Dave has asked me to cut communications with Tommy for a week or 2. I have a really difficult time with that because I like having a connection to make sure that he's doing okay.
He has done nothing but belittled his mom.
He sees me emotionally hurt and damaged by Tommy, but I love him and I worry about him anyway. Dave goes out of his way to look for problems with Tommy so he can complain to me about them.
This kid called me every name in the book, threatened me, threatened my wife.
Dave complains to me about Tommy. Tommy complains to me about Dave, and all I am trying to do is keep the peace. Dave has told me if things don't change by the end of the month, he will leave.
This kid is off the hook. Please help.
As Dr. Phil would say, I need a soft place to fall, and I don't have one.
Well, David was scheduled to be here today, but he canceled hours before his flight. He's on the phone now. David, you were going to be here today and you changed your mind. Why is that?
I just don't feel like I could sit there and take the abuse from Tommy.
much of Tommy's behavior is absolutely unacceptable. It's absolutely inexcusable. It is simply cannot continue and has to change. I'm also trying to find out why a young man would choose to behave the way he chooses to behave. What do you think?
Tommy is an exceptionally bright person. I really believe Tommy feels cheated. I feel like Tommy has a lot of mental issues. I think Tommy, in my book, causes his own trouble.
Wouldn't you think that he would need treatment instead of punishment, that he would need some kind of help rather than judgment?
Totally agree.
You just said one of the things that you've done to write on the slate of who he is, you said he is a complete, to use your word, nutcase. Correct?
Yeah, I did say it, and regrettably.
Tommy says that you have also referred to him as a complete piece of shit. Would that be true?
I'm sorry to say I did say that in anger.
He threatened to ruin your life at one point, right?
We've all said things in anger, and I would like to think he said in anger and not really meant it.
And when you said if he calls the police that you would kill him, you didn't mean that either.
I said it because I was trying to get a point across, and I will regret that for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the labels that have been put on Tommy when we come back. This young man has been labeled with PTSD. He's been labeled as bipolar at age 6, by the way. He's been labeled as having ADHD, and I'll tell you why that's important in a minute. And he has been labeled as having a high sensitivity Asperger's.
Personality disorder was another one.
Which one? Borderline?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was antisocial, but
Maybe it was antisocial. We've had
Okay.
so many, I just don't know.
Borderline personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder. This is what's been written on the slate of who he is, beginning with 50 medications, a divorce in 3rd grade, 3 violent deaths of his closest people, labels such as nutcase, piece of shit, you're not the favorite son, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 diagnoses, and then you get into what he has labeled himself. And you don't speak very kindly to yourself, do you?
no, not in the slightest.
I think the healthcare system has failed this young man. I think the psychiatric and diagnostic system has failed this young man. I think the family system has failed this young man. And I think he has failed himself miserably. So what do you think?
I agree with everything you said, and the main thing you said is that my actions are inexcusable.
I said absurd, atrocious, and inexcusable.
Yeah, all 3. All 3. But I also would like to point out the fact that it isn't just me. You guys play a role too. I mean, but
have I not covered that by
no, you
putting
did.
up a
You did.
37-foot long sign up here?
No, you did. That's definitely. It's very. I've never seen it put on paper like that before. But you know, you're completely right about everything you said. 100%.
You know, this isn't a Tommy problem. This is a family problem.
I agree.
And it will be a family solution.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Is I want to change
I'm going
it.
to tell you what I think needs to happen with this family when we come back. The first thing that needs to happen before anything else happens is we need to do a complete and thorough analysis of him, biochemically, psychologically, brain scan wise, heavy metal wise. There are so many things that haven't been looked at to see what's going on that drives his behavior. Now, is some of it just bad habits? Yes. Some of those things need to be changed. He needs to learn how to regulate and modulate emotion. That can be done without medication. It can be done with biofeedback and neurofeedback of the brain. There can be a lot of things that need to go on here. And what I'm saying that I'm willing to do is I'm willing to send you to what I believe the top diagnostic center in the country, which is the Psychoneuroplasticity Center in Dallas, Texas, and have them do a top to bottom, thorough, multidisciplinary workup on you, which take a day and a half, 2 days, something like that, and really find out what's going on with you and give you all that information. And from that, then we can come up with a plan of what to do to get you happy in your life. This young man's going to change, and y'all are going to need to know how to write new things on the slate of who he is. And I want to provide help on working with that family dynamic as well, with David, with Tom, with you, everybody. But we're going to start here and find out what's going on.
I haven't felt happy in a long time, and I'm really thank you for this opportunity to finally, for the first time that I can remember, have a little bit of hope besides what your staff has already given me in the past couple days.
Are you glad you came here?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Coming up, this married mom of two says she never backs down from a fight, but she can't seem to beat the lines that are making a move on her face. We'll meet her next. My next guest, Diana, is a married mother of two. For nearly 3 decades, she has worked as a successful fight choreographer and stuntwoman. She's even the goddaughter of legendary martial artist Bruce Lee. But Diana says she still needs help beating the lines and dry skin that are attacking her face. Take a look.
I'm a fight choreographer and martial arts trainer. My body stays fit at all times. My godfather is Bruce Lee. To me, being fit is in my DNA. I want the skin on my face to match my body. I work in a career that's highly competitive, and it tends to worship youthful things. I have been discriminated because of my age, and it's very frustrating. I'm one of the best at my job, but I also want to look good for my husband, Ron. He says he loves me no matter what. I'm seeing gradual changes in my skin. The dryness, the lack of firmness, it doesn't quite have the youthful glow. I even notice age spots and wrinkles around my eyes. I am looking for products that are safe, that will hydrate and revitalize my skin. I want to ask the skincare champ, Robin, how do I defend myself and win against these lines?
So joining me is Diana and my skincare champ, Robin, who is here to help her with her fight with her skin issues. So, Diana, you talked about looking youthful for your career, but like Robin, you're also a mom, right? Yes. Does that responsibility ever stop you from really taking the time to focus on yourself?
I got a 14-year-old and my 27-year-old son has autism. So, you know, that's a lot of stress.
And he lives with you?
Oh, yeah, he lives with my husband and I, and, you know, it's hard on us, and there's a lot of challenges that come with that, and it pains me to see the challenges that he goes through.
Well, Diana, I say this all the time because it really is my philosophy in life. You must put yourself first so that you can take care of the ones you love. I'm 63 years old, and I have to tell you, the older I get, the more I realize that is just so true.
I love it when she says that because everybody thinks she's a trophy wife. But we've been married 41 years, so it's...
That's amazing.
So what has getting older taught you about yourself, particularly in your business?
So when I reached my 40s, that's when I started seeing a shift hormonally, and so my skin was changing, my face was starting to change, and so my skin was getting drier, it was less springy, and I started getting little wrinkles around my eyes. So,
well, I have to say, Diana, There are a lot of changes that happen in our 40s, and that's one of the reasons why you need a skincare regimen. In your line of work especially, you know about falls. Well, I've got just the thing for you. You can fall into healthy skin with my triple hydration regimen. These 3 products will increase moisture in your skin and provide 24 hours of hydration and protection.
Wow.
And you can feel top of my head to figure that out.
I make sure he uses it.
Seriously. She comes in and does this on my head.
Exactly. Just like you need a plan when you choreograph a stunt, you also need a plan to tackle skincare issues. Start your day with my moisturizer. Hydrated skin equals youth. It will help plump and bring back moisture as well as protect your skin. Then in the evening, before applying your night cream, apply my revitalizing serum. Welcome back youth. It has vitamin C for overnight damage assistance, and it helps reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And lastly, this regimen includes my award-winning HydroQuench nighttime hydrating cream.
Yeah, I'm proud to tell you that not only do women everywhere love Robin's products, but Oprah's O Magazine named this night cream their Fall 27 Beauty Award winner.
Wow,
Which is a big deal.
That's really awesome.
In fact, it won for the best night cream for dry skin. And you can find all of Robin's products at robinmcgrawrevelation.com. So, Diana, if you're still not convinced, take a look at these before and after pictures of the young lady in the audience, which is Nicole.
Wow.
Now, Nicole, you've been using Robin's products for just 8 weeks, right?
Yes, and I feel amazing and confident. And Robin, I just want to thank you for making these amazing products. My skin has never looked as good as it does now, so thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome.
Now, Nicole, you're just 28, right?
Yes.
And Robin, you say it's never too early to start taking care of your skin, because I know you did this
Yes.
when you were in your 20s.
Yes, I really believe it's never too soon and it's never too late to start taking care of your skin, to really have a skincare regimen of your very own.
Okay, I know balancing kids and work can be stressful. I got to tell you, stress changes you biochemically. When I talk about stress, that's the body's reaction to the stressor, which is what puts the demand on your body. And you really have to focus on managing the stress, because that's where you get all this frowning and stuff. She said, I frown too much. It's not just taking care of your skin, you got to do it from the inside out as well by managing your stress.
And Diana, I want you to feel like the star you are, and so I'm sending you home with an entire year's worth of my triple hydration regimen. But, thank you. But I also want you to try actually all of my products, so you're also getting my entire collection.
Oh my God, thank you.
Again, you can find all of Robin's products at robinmcgrawrevelation.com. And audience, Robin is giving everyone here her triple hydration regimen. Okay? I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time. See you guys. Shouldn't miss the bald head, it's a test palette.